Hi guys, this is Roshan and I'm starting this new video series called Code Conversation. A code conversation is something where a person codes and the other person observes and asks the question that he finds confusing about the code itself. So today I'll be discussing with Nishant, who is doing his CS course in United States. He'll be making his own Django web app to keep the record of books online. You'll be guiding us how to set up the virtual environment in Python and also get started with Django web app. So let's get started. The mic is all yours, Nissan.
Hi, Rosanda. How are you doing today?
Good? Perfect.
Yeah. Today we'll be coding out a basic web app which gives a list of the books. As soon as you enter the name of the book, title, and the author, and the ISBN of the book, and you press enter, the book will be added to your book list, and there will be also the option of deleting the book. Once you press that delete button, the book will be gone from your book list. We'll be creating this kind of app. Now, in order to create this app, firstly, I'm gonna make a new folder. So let's name this folder books our and now we're gonna have to create the virtual environment for the Python. Now, if you guys have not installed the Python, I recommend you guys to install Python first. You can do this by going to Google and write Python. Whoops, this is not the website I meant to go. You can go to Google and you can type Python, and here we go. So depending upon which
Nissan, I see that
yeah.
you've been using Windows OS, and do you think someone who's using Linux or Mac OS would be able to follow along with this tutorial as well? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question, Roshan Dada. Starting out with downloading the Python, it depends upon the kind of OS you're using. If you are using the Windows OS, you need to download the Python for the Windows, and if you're using the Mac, you're gonna have to download the Python for the Mac. And similarly, if you're using the Linux, you're gonna have to download the Python for the Linux. Apart from that, I think everything should be the same. I think there might be some different commands depending upon the OS you use while creating the virtual environment. But apart from that, I think everything should be good to go.
Okay, right.
So
I think that's also the virtual environment also plays a big role, I think, because now it's going to make, because of that virtual environment, it's going to make our code, the system independent, I think. I'm not sure.
yeah, virtual environment is like a container. Virtual environment is basically like a container where you download all the softwares required for your project, and that the virtual environment will be completely isolated from the main system. So let's say if you install a Django within the virtual environment, the Django will only be present in that virtual environment, and the Django will not be present in your main system. So this is what the concept of virtual environment is.
Okay, thanks.
So I have already downloaded the Python over here, so I'm not going to do that. But if you guys don't have the Python, I recommend you guys to go over this URL, and depending upon your OS, Windows or Linux or Mac, you click it over here. And if you don't know whether you have Python or not in your computer, you can go to your command prompt and type Python. If you guys have Python, then you're gonna see this kind of thing, Python 3.7.6. I think the Python version, which is Avo 2.7, will just be fine for this video series. So what you gotta do now is we're gonna have to go to our directory. So I'm gonna type desktop. I'm gonna type my our book list over here. Oops. Our list. I'm going to go over here, and now I'm going to have to create the virtual environment. I can do that by writing virtual env and the name of the virtual environment. That can be anything. For this virtual environment, I'm going to write Django.
So is virtual environment something that comes with the Python package itself, or do we have to install it separately? What is it?
No, yeah, that's a good question, Rosandada. If you have never used the virtual environment before, then what you gotta do is you're gonna have to. I suggest you go over here, install virtual environment using pip. You go over here. Yeah, you can first before installing the virtual environment, you're gonna have to install the pip. So first, I recommend you running this command py m pip install. After that, the pip will be installed. After the pip has been installed, I suggest you run this virtual environment. This command pip install virtual environment. After that, you can type the command virtual where it's gone virtual environment and the name of your virtual environment, and you can press enter and your virtual environment will be ready to go.
Okay, so we could just copy those lines and then paste it in the command line, and then
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So now our virtual environment has been created, but it has not been activated yet. So in order to activate the virtual environment, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to be in the same directory as you created your virtual environment. I created my virtual environment in the directory desktop / our book list. So I'm gonna type, in order to activate this virtual environment, you type in the name of their virtual environment, which is Django. You can see over here / scripts, and you write activate over here, and here we go. If your virtual environment is activated, then you can see this kind of things come over here. If this thing does not come, then there might be some error and you need to fix that. Everything good?
Okay, interesting. So does this mean that until this point, if you just see the command line, the
Yeah.
line that we're currently in, just above that, I think we've been running everything from the systems, um, the Python that we have in the system, right? But
Mhm.
from now on, everything is done from the virtual environment.
Yeah, right. Now everything will be done from the virtual environment. Now Django is now only present. Now, if we install anything over here, if we install Django, if we install blah 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 any other software activating the virtual environment, then the software will only be present inside the virtual environment. If you try to import the software installed in this virtual environment from the main system, you'll not be able to import that because the software you install will only be present in the virtual environment. It has basically created a container that absolutely isolates it from the main system.
Okay, and if I understood it correctly, I think it's contained, everything is contained inside the folder that you just created.
Yeah, right. Everything is contained within the folder. You can basically go over here. You can see our book list. You see their Django. This is our virtual environment. Everything is contained over here.
Okay.
Okay. Now, after the virtual environment has been created, our next step is to install the Django. Now, in order to install the Django first you need to install the pip thing. I already told you guys about how to install the pip by following this by following this command over here. After the pip has been installed, you can type pip install Django. It's gonna take a while depending upon the speed of your computer.
Okay, so I think up to this point, I
Yeah.
see no reason why we would have to think from different context for different OS, right? Because it looks like all we're doing is using pip or Python, or we're just doing everything
Yeah.
from command line itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. I don't think we need to worry about different OS up to this point. I don't know why this is taking so long in my computer.
Okay. Do we also need some other libraries for this project today, or is it only?
No, we don't need any other libraries for this project today because this is going to be a very simple web app. But folks out there who are coding a very large app, sometimes install the third-party packages in their Django project and work with them. But
Okay.
in our case, we did not do that.
Okay. So I was also thinking, until and unless this installing thing happens,
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, where could people use this idea? I mean, like, how would they transfer whatever? Like, we're trying to make a list of, we're trying to make an app that would
Yes.
record the that would keep the
List of the
record of the
books.
books, right? So
Yes.
is it only limited to books, or what do you think will oh, I think it's already done. Maybe we can just proceed forward and then
Oh yeah,
carry on with this later on. Yeah.
it took probably like 30 seconds or 40 seconds in mine. So after the Django has been installed in a virtual environment, next step is to create the Django project, right now. If you go over here, there's nothing except your virtual environment. This is all you have in your main folder. Now the next step is to create your Django project, and you can do that by typing the command line Django admin start project and the name of the project. The name of the project can be anything. It completely depends upon you. But apart from the name of the project, everything has to be exactly similar. Otherwise, the command's gonna fail and it's not gonna start the project in your folder. So in our case, I'm gonna give the name of the project as what shall I name this project? Uh, probably books. All right, books.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now the Django project has been installed over here, and if you see over here, there is a file named books, right? Inside the file, there are a lot of files: init, ASGI, settings, URL, and WSGI. You guys need not be intimidated with all the files you are seeing over here. Most of the files in our case are not even used at all, like init, ASGI. These are files are not even used in our case right now. So you guys need not be intimidated by all the files over here. So yeah, so now next step is to create an app. In Django, the thing is there's a difference between project and app. And let's say we're creating a website like Amazon, right? Let's say we want to create a website like Amazon, right? In Amazon, we got different features, like we got Prime Video, we got Amazon Prime Video, all those different features, right? Now the whole thing Amazon.com is a project, whereas the different features within the Amazon is the app, right? Prime Video and all this blah 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 and blah 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 features that is inside the Amazon. Those are the apps. So in order to start working with the Django, we also need to create an app, right? In our case, only one app will be enough because our web app is not as complicated as Amazon is. So in order to start the app, we need to write this command: Python manage.py start app. And again, the name of the app can be whatever you want, right? I'm gonna say list. So click over here. Oh, oops, there's one error. Let's see what error is. Can't open file manage.py. Okay. I was trying to access manage.py by being in this directory, but we need to go inside the books in order to access the manage.py. That was the error. So I'm gonna go inside cd. Let's see, cd books, and here I'm going to type Python manage.py. Oops, run server. This is not the command I was supposed to type. I was supposed to type Python manage.py start app. I'm going to name this app list. What's happening? Books.
I think there's a typo in there. It was Python.
Oh yeah, Python. Yeah. It is Python manage.py start app. This should be. Yep. Here we go now. Now, after that, you see this folder. If you go to the folder, our book list, which is our main folder, you can see this is our virtual environment. This is our main Django project, and this is our app. This is where all the coding goes. Now, now we have successfully created our Django project and Django app. Now, next step is to open all of this in the code editor. You can use whatever code editor you want. There are a lot of not only code editors, even you can use IDEs. There are a lot of IDEs in the market. For the Python, most of the people use PyCharm, and for the code editors, so most of the people use Vim. Depending upon the OS they use Sublime Text, Atom, whatever you guys can use whatever you want. Personally, I prefer Atom because that's what I've been using for the past 9 to 10 months, and I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I'm gonna open Atom. Just feel free to use whatever IDs or code editor you want. It's not gonna impact in our project.
How difficult is it for people to get started with Atom? Is it like just download and install it and then you're ready to go, or is there anything that we need to do?
Yeah, You need not do anything different. You can just download Atom. I think the kind of OS you are using also matters here. If you're using Linux, you're gonna have to download Atom specifically for Linux, and so on for Windows and Mac. And yeah, just click on download over here and just open the Atom, and I think you should be good to go.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm gonna open my file over here. I'm gonna open folder. I'm gonna go to desktop, and the name of our file was our book list, right? Study folder. Yep. As you can see, this is our virtual environment Django. This is our main project. This is our app. This is our project, and this is our app. Now, now you guys can go ahead and open every files you have if you are that interested in looking at all the files. If you go to init, there's nothing at all in init. These files are not even useful for us in our case right now. The files that will be working will be settings, URLs, admin, models, and ViewSetPY. And this db.sqlis3 is a default database of Python. If you guys wanna use something else instead of db-SQLite like MySQL or PostgreSQL, then you can do everything from here by changing the you can do everything from here by changing the name into PostgreSQL or whatever database you want to use. But for now, for this application, we'll be using the default database of the Django, which is SQLite 3. So there are like a basic configuration you need to do before starting out with the project. So first step is you need to go to settings.py, and over here you need to type template.dir is equal to os.path, and you need to pass the base dir. Similarly, you need to type static dir equals os dot path base dir, and I'm going to type in here static. And
just a second, why do we need template dir and static dir?
okay, template is basically the bunch of HTML files that we're going to be using in our web app. There must be a way for Django to know where the web apps are, where the templates are located. So after this directory is done, and we can go ahead and make a folder named templates.py. So whenever we're trying to render the HTML pages, Django will know that it is located inside that template, and it will create select a specific file from there to render. This is a basic way of telling the Django that all the templates are within the templates folder.
Okay, so this is like showing a pathway for the Django for all the
Yes,
files
right.
that we created.
In this case, only the templates.
Okay.
Okay, and similarly, static files are those files like the images or JavaScript or CSS that we use in our web app, to make them look beautiful. So in the similar way, Django has to know a way for it to locate the templates. It also has to it also has to find a way to look at the static files. So what this line does is whenever we try to access JavaScript or CSS, it goes inside the static folder, and it looks upon the CSS and JavaScript. That's what these two lines are doing.
Okay.
And what you got to do now is we need to pass in template.dir over here. Oops. Template.dir. I'm going to pass in the commas over there. And over here, I'm going to type static files. Files is equal to static files is equal to I think I named it static dir. Yes. Static dir. Yeah, I think we should good to go now. I think this is all the configuration that you need to do before actually coding out your application. Now Let's go to the ViewSetPY. This is where you'll be writing all the code. This is the place where you'll be writing all the Python code. Whenever a user types in the URL, the function returned in this file ViewSetPY will run depending upon the URL pressed by the user. I mean, so we're gonna save this file real quick, and we're gonna go to the URL. So what this URL does is whenever you type, whenever you go to www.amazon.com, Django has to figure out what to display, right? Which code to run, right? So Django has to figure out which code to run, right? So what this does is whenever you write, firstly, I'm gonna write this before explaining. Mm. So I'm just gonna write print here hello world over here. Okay, passing the URL. I'm gonna have to import this from list views, import. Let's see what the name of the function is. This index. It's index. I'm gonna say this real quick. I'm going to say this. So what we're doing over here is whenever the user types something in the URL bar that which is nothing, if the user types in nothing and presses the enter button, then what it does is it runs this index function, and it goes to the ViewSetPY and runs this index function, which is rendering out the HTML page, which is index.html. So whenever a user goes to the URL bar and press enter without writing nothing, then this HTML page will be rendered. And now instead of writing nothing, if I say, let's say suppose with paste slash, and now if the user had typed nothing and press the enter, it will show some kind of error because there is no any URL pattern and that corresponds to nothing, empty string, right? There's only two URL pattern that corresponds to there's only two URL pattern, right? So whatever the user type has to correspond to either of this, right?
Okay.
So it has to be either.
So if you leave it empty, then it's like going to the home page.
No, right now we cannot go to the home page because
Not
there
now.
is
Like
no.
if you just leave the quotation without anything, then it's like
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to the home page, right?
yeah. It's like going to the home page, right? But what if I don't want a blank, and what if I don't want the empty string, right? If I don't want the empty string, and if I want let's say suppose if I want user to go to the home page after the user types in web page, then I can do this. And whenever the user goes to the web page, then it's gonna show the it's gonna render index.html. Otherwise, it's gonna show some kind of error because there is no URL pattern that matches with empty string.
Okay, I think if we just tinker with this thing and then the thing you said, like with an empty string, right,
Mm-hmm,
and then
mm-hmm.
see it for the real, then I would understand it more, maybe.
Okay, sure. Okay, first we're gonna try with empty string. Hello world. Everything is perfect over here, and I think everything is perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in order to see the result of everything you have coded out there, you need to write this command: Python -py run server. Oops, there is some error over here. Module object is not callable. Okay, what's wrong? Let me go and figure this out. It is in line 17. Template dir os. Oops.
Space.
I figure out space and I figure out one more line. Without join as well. Okay, I think we should be good. I think we should be good to go now. And we're on the server again. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Oops. I'm gonna close this real quick. Okay, template does not exist at index.html. Let's see what's the error now. Templates does not exist at. Okay. Request, return render. Let's see what the error is over here. Index.html, it clearly shows over here.
So it doesn't find that file, right?
Yeah, it is not finding the file. Maybe something went wrong over here, I guess. Let's see, template dir. Templates, template dir. It is not finding the HTML piece. Static, yeah, maybe just, I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's try again. Get rid of this. It is still not finding the template index.html. Let's see what's the error over here. Request index.html, index.html, index, import index. Let's see. A best way to figure out, know whether what you have done is correct or not is to go over here, Django documentation, template settings. The problem is this static.os.path.join paste dir, template dir, template.dir. I'm going to turn off and run the server again. I'm still getting the same problem. I don't know why. This is kind of weird.
One thing I like about the programmers and coding is that, you know, a lot of unknown issues that comes in between, right? And then trying to solve it would, you know, teach you so many things that.
Thanks. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I think coding is basically all about learning from the mistakes you made.
Yeah.
Let's try this again. I'm still getting template does not exist at slash. What's the error over here? Everything looks perfect. Index path. Index. Oops. Oh, I got the big error. I got it now. Whenever you install any app in your Django, you need to mention it over here. You need to mention it here, list. Whenever, if you are working with it, if you decide to install a third-party package, or any software that you want to work with your Django project, then the first thing you need to do is you need to mention that app inside the installed apps. I told you this is the app we made right in the command python manager py start app list. So even though this is not a third-party package, this is the app that we made inside the Django folder. It has to be mentioned over here. Now I think we should be good to go now. Let's see. Copy this. Voila, you see, now we can see hello world over here. Now whatever you type in in this html page, you're gonna see that hello world. I'm gonna write I am Nishant, and you save it over here. You go over here and you refresh, you say hello world, I am Nishant. Now this is what this is doing is that whenever you render, whenever you guys have noticed that I have not written anything over here, right? I have not written slash, I have not written anything, right? The string is it is absolutely blank. That means this pattern, this algorithm, this URL patterns has been masked, and the function associated with this URL pattern is index.py, which is in the views. So this function is run. This is what this is doing. So now if we write it over here, if we change this, let's say we don't want a blank string over there, we want something different, then we want something what's that, we want something different, then we can go over here in the URL.py and we can type in here, let's say we want web page slash. Now we save it over here, and now if we refresh this is going to give the error. This is going to give the error page for who are not found, because there is no URL pattern that corresponds with the empty string. There are only two URL patterns, and that correspond with either admin-slash and webpage-slash. Now if we type in slash webpage, we get hello world, I am Nishant.
Okay, so does that mean can we go back to the code once?
Okay.
So
This one, our ViewSetPY.
there's already that path that exists, the admin thing, the one above that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The thing is, I'm gonna show you guys what this is. This is not gonna work now because the admin thing is connected to okay, I'm gonna give you a simple example. Let's say, let's say you go to amazon.com, right? There are a bunch of data in the database of the Amazon, right? So let's say a user wants to access a database. A user cannot do that, right? Only a developer, only the app developer, only the person who only the person who makes the app can access the database, right? It's the same thing. Whenever we go and configure the database, and we want to go inside the database, and we want to change here and there in the database, then this admin slash is very useful. I'm going to talk about this later when we create the database.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So yeah, this is all about the configuration of the Django when we first start off the project. So I'm going to summarize everything in a brief now. First you go ahead and make the folder. After that you create the virtual environment. The name of the virtual environment can be anything. After that you create the project of the Django by typing in the command Django / the admin start project and the name of the project. And after that you start your app by writing the command python manager py start app, and the name of the app can be anything. And you go over here, make sure you don't mix up the settings part. I know this is a bit hard to remember because of the weird code. Make sure that you guys remember this absolutely perfectly. The variables should not be changed. Everything should be as it is, because if you mess up a tiny bit here and there, if you do here and there tiny bit, then it's gonna mess up the whole thing, and you're gonna get a whole bunch of error like I did. So we go over here, you set up all of these, and you make a basic views. For now we're doing just rendering this page index.html, and make sure that the name of the HTML file and this thing over here should be the exactly same. And you go ahead and make the URL patterns whatever you want, either it's a blank string or a web page or whatever you want. And whenever you type in that URL in the URL bar and press enter, and you should see your HTML page rendering. So this is all about the basic configuration of the Django project before you start coding out your application.
Okay. I think we're good to go with the coding part, but seems like it's going to take a long, so maybe we'll have to break this into part two again
All
and
right,
then
sure.
do it,
Okay, sure.
right? So
Yeah,
until
yeah,
this point, I think uh, I'm at least confident enough to at least get started with the Django, right? So
okay.
thank you so much, Nissan. And then in the next video, we'll go on with how to, work with the HTML and CSS and how to
Yeah.
integrate that with the framework, right?
Yeah, I think next part of the video is going to be a real killer one, because the next part of the video is where we're going to be learning really cool stuff. And at the end of the video, at the end of this series, you guys will master the skills to develop a basic app, I guess.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Nissan. See you.
Thank you. Thank you.